also have like trouble having candy at home? Like whenever I have candy or like Oreos, I'm just like eating through them because I have no self-control. It's weird. I do love candy though. If you also happen to have no self-control when it comes to candy, give yourself 10 max points. What are these points for? Can you redeem them for anything? I don't know. Just keep track of them. I'm such a scrub lord. Also, I hope you don't. I hope none of you minds the lighting, the strange lighting. Here in the United States of messed up timing, we just had daylight savings time, so my lighting is all screwed up. Like I could open up the blinds and get a little bit more light, but for how long, right? Especially because I get direct sunlight because I don't have neighbors across the street. That was really weird to phrase for some reason. Regardless, like I know that it's gonna start going into sunset in like 45 minutes, which means that somewhere along the recording of this video, if it goes long, it's gonna get really dark in here, and then it's gonna be like a really big difference in between recordings, and that's just a pain. So I have extra lighting everywhere. So that's why things look weird today. Silliness aside, hello writerly friends, and welcome to NaNoWriMo Care Package, where I answer some NaNoWriMo questions, offer inspiration and advice for all of your writerly needs, and I talk about my own crazy, ridiculous NaNoWriMo challenge and the process that it is making of sorts. I'm a little tired. It's funny because I shot a version of this video on Friday, that being Halloween on the 31st, before I began writing, because I wanted to have a video going up on the first day of NaNoWriMo. Sorry for the car. And I shot it, and I was like all happity-doopity, just jumping all over the place, giving writing advice. And it was alright, it was an okay video. The problem that I have with it is that I hadn't done any writing, so it was kind of like a phony video, where I like the last segment I just kind of apologized because I wanted to have a video in advance and it felt a little cheap. So I ended up not uploading that, and I decided to reshoot it on Monday, which is today, which is the day before it goes up on Tuesday. Timing! So in the pocket dimension that I shot this video, being Monday the 3rd of November, I have already experienced the first 3 days of NaNoWriMo. I've been writing, so as you can tell, I'm a little different. My demeanor is a little different. I'm behaving not as happity-duppity as I usually do, because I'm a little tired. Writing will do that to you. 2 hours of writing leaves a writer completely exhausted, because in those 2 hours he has been in a different place, in different places with different people. That's a quote by somebody. I do quotes on my blog, like I do a lot of quotes, to the extent that I think I've seen basically every writing advice quote there is in the internet. Like I've been doing this for 2 years by now. There's been some rehashing, there has to be, because there are only so many quotes. I don't mean to say that I am off my game, I'm just a little tired from all the writing. I wrote very late on Saturday and Sunday. That being mostly because of the time change. I didn't realize about it until like Sunday morning. I was like really tired. I didn't go to bed at the right time, and I came out of it and I'm like, it's like 2 in the morning and I'm wide awake. What is going on? I guess I'll just write. Before I go any further though, let's actually explain the format of these videos. The way these videos are going to be formatted is that I'm going to be interrupted by cars. That's going to be part of the process. You wanted a more casual video experience, so here you go. A lot less editing, which means a lot less jumping around between cuts. So the way these videos are going to work is that I'm going to first answer a few questions that I've gotten over the last couple of days. And of course, if you have questions of your own that you would like me to answer, leave them in the comments below. If I get like 3,000 questions, I may not be able to tackle them in one video. I'll probably blitz through them. But if you leave a question, it has a really high chance of getting answered. After answering a couple of questions, giving my advice, my opinion, my completely biased and subjective way of looking at things, after that, I'm going to just give you an update on my own crazy challenge. For those of you who don't know, I am attempting to write 3 novellas in the month of November. I have been successful in achieving 2 novellas in 1 month for the past 2 years. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm hoping that this year is the year I crack the big 3. So yeah, the video is split in half. First, some advice, some inspiration, and then me ranting about the writing process. Does that seem exciting to you? Does it seem weird to see me running on like half battery? I swear, 2 hours of writing is actually really tiring. Regardless of that though, without any further ado, God freaking damn it. Questions! Without any why am I using fancy phrases when I should just be using common talk stuff? Let's dive right in. Today I have 2 questions that I want to tackle. One of which is a little nasty thing that pops up every freaking year at NaNoWriMo. I'm sorry for the car. That's really loud. What's up with that car? And it's... Please tell me it's not like a truck. Okay, it's gone. Alright. Sorry about that. The first of these questions always shows up in the month of NaNoWriMo or the months leading up to it, and I see it all the time, and it's one of those things that makes me cringe a little. But let's tackle it in the form of a question. Max, how do you feel about breaking up contractions to increase your word count? I think it's silly. I understand that the first time you're doing NaNoWriMo, it can be incredibly daunting and terrifying and scary because producing so many words can be, well, a daunting and a scary task, and it's understandable. I don't necessarily feel that breaking up contractions, such as instead of writing can't, you write cannot, I don't feel this is the way to go about increasing your word count. Personally, breaking up contractions is like wearing a pedometer and just shaking it up to get some more steps. You're really only tricking yourself. And also, by the way, when time comes for you to revise this novel, you're gonna have the worst time ever putting all of these contractions back into place. Really, you're just like writing yourself a pain check. You're writing yourself a rain check for pain later on. Nailed it. Now, of course, I'm not just gonna sit here and wave my hands and tell you that what you're doing is wrong and not offer you an alternative that is a much more effective way to go about doing things. That's not my way of doing stuff. Instead, I'm going to give you an alternative that is a better way to go about doing things. Recently, I've been doing a lot of feedback, particularly for newer people getting into writing. And I find that the number one thing I notice, and I do this myself, I make this mistake all the time, I forget to describe the location and the characters that we're coming in contact with. I know that while you're in the middle of things, you just get wrapped up in telling the story and you just forget to actually describe the location around us. And I recommend you, like when you begin a scene or in the middle of a process, remind yourself to actually stop and describe things. It's kind of counterintuitive, but I have found that even myself, I have an image of the world and the characters, and I don't always go all the way into describing them. I always go a little short, so I always have to come in and explain it a little more. Now you may be asking yourselves, Max, how do you know you have to explain it a little more? I do when I find that my beta readers are seeing things differently. If I imagine a character in my head one way and my readers picture them otherwise, I have to realize that there's a bit of a problem there, there's a bit of a disconnect, and if it's a meaningful difference, I have to go and fix it, or if it's just superfluous, I can maybe play around it. I had a beta reader once who pictured one of my characters with entirely different hair color and hairstyle. I thought it was cute. So what I recommend you to do, instead of doing something that is not really effective, like breaking up contraptions, instead, how about consider reminding yourself to describe the location. What does this place actually look like? One of my biggest pieces of feedback is that I want to see the things you are seeing. I want to see the world like you see it. And really, I have to be entirely honest here that more description is always better than less description. Even if you go ridiculous George R.R. Martin description of pages upon pages of character clothing and places and food, even then though, there's a market for that. Really, I believe that description is always better than no description. And to be entirely honest, even if you do end up somehow having to cut that description later in the revision process, you have practiced your description muscles. It's a lot more meaningful, I think, in my honest opinion, than just breaking up contraptions. Breaking up contraptions, because we're just making like little robots. So that's cars. And that is all I have to say about that. The next question is one that it starts creeping up around the first week or so. So I want to tackle it right now. And the question goes a little like this. Max, what if I fail? Now notice that I'm getting a little serious now. My hands have decreased the amount of waviness. And this is something you can file this under life advice that sounds just like writing advice, okay? You yourself define failure states. And what I mean by this is that NaNoWriMo is a very arbitrary contest. It is. I don't think anyone out there is arguing that 50,000 words makes a novel. It doesn't. It's just a cute arbitrary number that was put there that seems kind of lenient. It's enough to give you a challenge, but not too crazy that nobody can actually ever achieve it. Again, I want you to let these words sink in. You define the failure state. As someone who has done NaNoWriMo many times and has completed it many times, I can assure you that the little batch you get on the website is not exactly meaningful. Yes, it's cute, but ultimately what you get from those 30 days of literary abandon is the habit. I've said this a million times and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it until the day I die. NaNoWriMo is not about 50,000 words. That's arbitrary. That's just the lettering. It's not meaningful. The real challenge, the real point of this month is to make the habit, to make the time to sit down, sit your butt on the chair and write. In the second half of this video, I'm going to actually talk about my word counts and my process, and I can tell you with kind of heart-shattering honesty that I am very... Is the word I'm looking for shy? I don't mean shy, it's something else. It's careful. I am careful about sharing my word counts because I write books for a living and I have been writing for a long time actually. And I know that people who are just getting into it may look at these word counts and think, holy crap, I'm never gonna be able to do that. Which is a silly thing to say. I want you all to understand and internalize and be entirely aware that the first 2 years, that is 2 attempts, that I went about trying NaNoWriMo, I did not succeed at accomplishing 50,000 words in 30 days. Nope. I did not achieve the first 2 times. Looking back on things, I can tell you with heart-shattering certainty. I don't even know what that means, but I'm just saying it because it sounds cool. Fiction! Saying things because they sound cool. Anyways, I can tell you with certainty that those first 2 times that I was unable to create the habit was because I was not using my time smartly and I was not dedicating the discipline and not creating the discipline to sit down and write every night. Procrastination and secondary priorities are your enemies in this month. You want to know how I have come to develop this crazy challenge for NaNoWriMo where I just write tons of novels every year? Make the time. If there's a show you love, a show that you love to watch, stop watching it for the month. It's gonna be there. It's probably gonna be on Hulu anyway or on Netflix. You can binge watch it, all of it, on November the 1st. For these next 30 days, don't watch that TV show. Don't. Instead, spend those 45 minutes to an hour writing. Does that sound like heresy? Those of you who know my origin story know very well that I used to have a really, really crappy job where I worked a lot. I would get up at 5 in the morning and I would get home at 5 in the afternoon. That's half of the day gone. If you want to get any sort of sleep, well, good luck. In between trying to work out, dinner, showering, saying hi to the family, and writing, there wasn't much time for anything else. And I had to make the sacrifices. I had a crappy job, but I wanted to write. And I realized that I wanted to write more than I wanted to watch 20 minutes of this YouTuber. Is that a tough choice to make? Yeah, it is. But I empower you to make that choice. You want to know my secrets? You want to know how I overcame this continuous inability to create the habit to write? Make the time and stop procrastinating. Sit your butt down and just start writing. The first sentence doesn't matter. It has never mattered. Sit down and just write. As I've mentioned a million times, if you have trouble with the first line, just get in character. Just step back and ask yourself, how would I begin telling this story if I was telling it to a friend of mine? If I was telling it to someone I cared about? Step back, get in character, and just begin the story. I once dreamed of a city of red. That's the starting line of the book I'm working on. It sounds cool. I came up with it the day before NaNoWriMo. I was doing something and then it's just, pow! That line came to me. Anyways, let's bring it back because this deals a lot with the concept of failure. And just really quick, before we move on to the second half of this video, as I mentioned before, you define failure. And when it comes to writing, sorry for the car. When it comes to writing, really, if you sit down and you manage to get 15,000 words, if you manage to get 1,000 words every night, if you manage to get any sort of words, I used to do NaNoWriMo events when I would sit down and I would gather people and we would do write-ins and we would do like NaNoWriMo in other months for fun. And I would keep telling them is that, you got 500 words done. Those are 500 words you would not have done otherwise. And that builds up, it matters, People forget, that deserts are made of grains of sand and that the ocean is made of droplets of water. Little by little, one travels a long way. That is also a quote, I think. That's J.R.R. Tolkien, right? I think it is. Regardless, all right? If those of you trying NaNoWriMo for the first time, if you take anything from this first video, is that no matter what happens, no matter how many words you get, if you develop the habit, if you learn to make the time, make the sacrifices, and write, you will be better by the end of the month. I promise you. I told myself that if I managed to make it through the first half, that I was gonna have another bar. Because I have no self-control. No. If you still have no self-control when it comes to candy, give yourself another 5 points. Let me just bring up my NaNoWriMo profile and finish this candy bar. I'm actually gonna have to bring up my actual Evernote stuff. Okay. Also, a couple of you were asking me if I recommended using Evernote for writing, especially NaNoWriMo. I absolutely do. And Evernote is the best thing. I actually had a subscription to Yarny a million years ago, but then I discovered Evernote and I realized that it wasn't only free, but it was just better all the way around. So, Evernote. Just really quick fact before I talk about my writing. Evernote recently changed one of its main features. You used to have to pay to be able to do collaborate work. They turned that off. Now everybody gets it for free. So I stopped paying for Evernote because now I can actually, because that's the way I do my books. I write them all on my own and then I create an editorial folder and I just share it with my editor and she makes her changes, makes her highlighting and then sends it back to me. So Evernote got better. So I recommend it 110%. And one of you was asking, how do you find out your word count? On the note menu, there's a little eye next to the trash can icon. Click on the eye and it'll give you information. So, once again, if somehow you have missed me talking about this along the way, this NaNoWriMo, I am attempting a crazy challenge where I am trying to write 3 novellas in 30 days. In the past years, I've been able to do 2. I've been able to do 2 consistently. I mean, I don't consider that to be that hard anymore. So I really want to try out for the big 3. I want to see if I can just push myself, because one should continue to extend the boundaries of one's ability. I mean, you can't keep getting better unless you try new things and do crazy new things. So I am not exactly sure what some of you are expecting to get from these videos. That sounds like a really mean thing to say. I don't mean it like that. What I mean is that I am probably not going to be talking about the specifics of the books, primarily because I don't like to talk about the specifics of the books, like what is actually happening page to page. Because what I get from writing is seeing people's reactions. So if I get the reactions now, I kind of lose the motivation to write the whole thing. So I'm gonna give you some facts, some character thingies, but don't expect me to tell you everything that is going on. A little mystery goes a long way. So the first novella of this month is a little silly project that I came up with back in Fanime, like back in end of May, beginning of June. I was talking with somebody, a friend of a friend, and I realized that she was a really big fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or JJBA, as apparently that's the way they call it. And as we were talking, because I'm a play on words sort of person, I love creating play on words, saying things that sound like other things and making jokes. That's basically half of my style of comedy. That's basically it. And as we were talking about it, and we're also talking about magical girls and other things like that, and I substituted the word JoJo for shoujo, and I suddenly began thinking, well, what if I made a shoujo version of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where it's more female focused, because let's be honest, JoJo is kind of lacking in female characters. And one thing took to the next, and this is the project that I'm working on first, because it's the most ridiculous one of them all. If you are at all familiar with the JoJo universe, you know how ridiculous it is. It is a silly world. It's a silly world full of silly characters, and I wanted to channel some things of that. I guess I'll do the disclaimer right now. This story is not going to be a retelling of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's not going to be like a parody, because I don't even know how to do parody. That's like, my brain doesn't work like that. Instead, I'm just taking the some elements that I really love about JoJo, which ironically are also elements that I really love about Persona, the Persona games. So I took a few elements, a few pieces, and I just went my own way. That's the way I like to go about things. So if anyone out there is like a super big fan of JoJo and is expecting to see me like retelling like Stardust Crusaders, not gonna happen. Sorry. My characters go their own way and I just follow. So if I had to give this like a genre, I guess, it would be like action, I guess. It's like silly character moments and actions. That's basically like what the book has been up to this point. So, as of the recording of this video, which is the 3rd of November, I have done 3 days of writing, and I have my stats right here. On day one, I wrote 3,682 words. On day 2, I wrote 3,394 words. And today, this morning, before I recorded this video, I wrote down 3,492 words. Pretty even. Some of you are following me on Twitter, and you should be following me on Twitter if you want to follow my craziness. I've been posting about the writing process and the silliness that has been happening. And those of you who have read my work, my books, you kind of have a feeling for the way I write stories, right? My novellas tend to be around 30,000 to 35,000 words. I believe the longest one I've written was 40,000, and even then I felt that there was some things I could cut, and I did cut. And if you are following me on Twitter, you heard about the ridiculous 6,000 word chapter. Right now, I am at 10,568 words, and 6,000 of that is one chapter, the first chapter, and it's ridiculous. I usually shoot for my chapters to be like between 3,000 and 3,500 words. So if you notice my word counts, you would realize that that's basically a day's writing. A chapter a day keeps a doctor away for some reason. That makes no sense. So, if you're paying attention, you realize that I spent 2 days on one chapter, and that chapter is crazy! It's ridiculous! It has like an introduction, an opening scene, a fight scene that goes on like I don't want to say forever, but because it actually lasts as long as it should have lasted. Like it made sense. And then like a mini scene that leads into the next chapter, and it's all like nicely packaged together. So like, and I talk about this all the time on the blog. I talk about letting go of control. I talk about, instead of being the scriptwriter, the director, or the lead actor, instead I tell you to be the cameraman, follow the characters, see where they go, and experience things firsthand. And that's the way I go about doing things. During that 6,000 word chapter, I was literally writing it and thinking to myself, is this going too long? Like, should I just like skip it? Should I just split it? I mean, like, if I split it before the fight starts, like, there's not really that much of a first chapter. And really, the second chapter just being a fight, really? And, you know, like, the little thoughts that go, like, in the back of my head as I'm writing, and all of these things are incredibly counterproductive. I know I experience those thoughts, but I never, ever, ever follow them. Nope. The story is king, and the characters are other kings. So if you want, like, a pro tip, I'm not a pro. If you want a pro tip, I recommend, of course, as always, let go of control. I know that if you're just getting started, it can be really daunting to just not know where the story's going or what the characters are going to be doing. I always come into each chapter having a general idea of what should maybe somehow happen, but the characters always go their own way. That's why I don't even do that much outlining. I said it right! I almost said outlining again. I think some of you caught me, but I was talking that I began my brainstorming for the story on the 30th, 2 days before NaNoWriMo. Why? Because my characters go their own way. They do their own thing, I just follow. Really, I have never in my writing career stopped in the middle of writing a chapter to check my notes and see if it makes sense. Like, in my personal opinion, the story is the Bible for the story. The story is the Bible for the story. What I'm trying to say is that whatever happens in the story is the key, the template, the mold from which everything else will be measured against. So, in that case, it means the outlining was wrong. I did not foresee things as they really are. That is really loud. Again, I'm sorry. Again, maybe I'm just weird, but I personally don't like changing the way the story is going because it's going against the outline. To me, the outline is always second. It's always secondary, and it should never ever get in the way of the story as it is in progress. Again, just me, just my subjective and biased opinion about writing. So if any of you saw that funny picture I uploaded about my brainstorming for SBA, Shoujo's Bizarre Adventure, SBA, I wanted to write a story with like literally strong female characters, like strong enough to like crush skulls with their bare hands. Again, if you're familiar with JoJo, you know what I'm talking about. And I am 3 chapters into the story, and I think it's going pretty well. It's the sort of thing where I don't really think about it while I'm writing. I always go with the flow, and I always go with what seems the most fun to me. So if the characters are doing this, then I'm gonna go with them, see what happens. Again, that chapter was 6,000 words long, but it was fun to write. It had a fight scene, and during the fight scene I was like, I think this is too easy. I think she's getting away with this a little too easily. And then the man pulls a gun on her, and I'm like, nah, nope, no, it seems to be fair. Yeah. Again, go with the flow. The story will always surprise you. I didn't know that guy had a gun in his pants. Crazy, right? Aside from that, the one thing, because as I've mentioned, for me, writing is fun because I'm discovering the story myself first and foremost. I am the story's first reader, and I love seeing it just grow. When I first came up with the concept of the main character, who is only known as Girl, and get it? Girl, shoujo. I'm so clever, you guys. Anyways, yeah, her name is just Girl. People just call her Girl. And when I first envision her, because when I do brainstorming, and I'm gonna let you in behind the curtain, my way of doing brainstorming for characters is just like listening to music and imagining the opening theme if the book was an anime, and that's just basically my brainstorming. I'm like, well, clearly this is what she would do in the opening, which, you know, shows elements of her character. And doing my brainstorming process for Girl, she was always a lot like Jotaro Kujo, who is the main character of Part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders. Yes, and if you are at all familiar with Jotaro Kujo, you know that he is kind of plain. No offense to people who love Jotaro, but he's like a 17-year-old guy with an attitude problem, and we love him. He's silly, but that's it. He doesn't have really much else going on. And when I was envisioning Girl, I found hints of that. Like I don't know what the hell's in your head. And it's funny because the story is told from her point of view. So when I came into the page, I had no idea what to expect. And she is the first character who is legitimately... Well, she's the first character I've ever written who is legitimately vulgar. She is incredibly vulgar. She swears a lot. She says... She has a really great way of explaining imagery. And, like, it's weird because, like, before her, and I want you to realize that I've written like 8+ books, I hadn't experienced characters who like swore. And maybe it's a little silly, but I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of swearing here and there, especially with some of my science fiction books where I would create swear words because I love language. Linguistics are so much fun, you guys. But I had never written a character like Girl who is legitimately throwing F's all over the place. So, it's day 3. I just broke 10,000 words. It's kind of exciting. I think the coolest part, aside from the writing, is that I've gotten a lot of like positive feedback on Twitter. That's actually been really fun. I generally don't get like favorites or replies or retweets ever. Like I do a lot of quotes, and it's kind of like, I don't want to say filler content, but it's not exactly the most meaningful and interactive sort of medium. So seeing, like, actually going out of my way to talk about things on Twitter and seeing people, you know, favoring and replying is actually really awesome. I haven't actually had an experience like that ever with Twitter. So that kind of gets me excited to get up, you know, tomorrow morning and write some more and tell you guys about it. Is that like a dog or a bike? I don't know. Anyways, so that has been incredibly fun. Hitting 10k in the first 3 days is kind of crazy. Though, you know, I'm going to be writing 3 novellas, so I have to hit at least 90k or 100k depending. I mean, looking by the way this story is already going, it may go long, which we'll see how things go. As for what I'm going to write as soon as shoujo is done, I have no idea. I have zero clue. I will probably brainstorm it the same day I'm done with shoujo, so we'll have to see. Aside from all of this silliness and all of the sharing, because let me be clear, I actually enjoy this. This has actually been really fun. I changed my work schedule around so I could write in the mornings, get that done and out of the way, because the last thing I want to do is be writing at midnight and then not going to sleep for like 2 hours. But now I write, I do a bunch of other little things and work, and then I just come back, make a vlog, and relax. It's fun. I like it. It feels like I'm talking to somebody. So this is really fun. I've enjoyed talking with you. But how have you been doing, though? How has your NaNoWriMo experience been so far? What are you writing? What are you up to? And what are your work ends up to? As always, sorry about the car. As always, sorry about the cars. I have no control over them. As always, if you want to add me as a writing buddy on NaNoWriMo, you can find me under the username Makatsuka. That's Makkata. It's gonna be on the screen. It's going to be on the screen. Aside from that, I'm such a pro. Such a pro. So aside from this, though, I want to get your feelings, your thoughts. We're experimenting with this new format for the month of NaNoWriMo, so let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you like? What do you not like? I know that it can be pretty rambly. I can ramble a lot, especially when it comes about my books. So, and if I forgot to mention something, please let me know and ask me. It's funny because from my point of view, shoujo is like all around me, and I am immersed in it at this very moment. So like, it's entirely likely that I just completely forgot to mention something that is incredibly obvious to me, but not obvious to you. So if you have any questions about my process, what I'm doing at the moment, please let me know. With all of that silliness out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this ridiculous vlog / inspirational post. Again, if you have any questions regarding NaNoWriMo, or just random questions, I'll probably just answer them anyway, please post them in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like. It actually does mean a lot. You have no idea how much it means. It's really important. And subscribe if you want more, if this is your first video. Sorry for the weirdness. Watch my more formal stuff if you want to see me like at a more decent, like, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. State, in a more decent state. Yes. I can be pretty silly. Aside from that, if you would like even more writing advice, writer positivity, prompts, story ideas, character questions, you name it, head over to my writing blog over at maxkieran.tumblr.com. Thank you for watching. I hope you have all been having a great experience with NaNoWriMo. And if you haven't, let me tell you that I believe in you. I know it may seem hard, but let me tell you a little secret, okay? If you can make it past the first 10 days, you will complete NaNoWriMo. Trust me. With that out of the way, I wish you the best of luck. Be strong, writerly friend, and trust in your characters. Mwah! Once again, thankfully the cars wait for me to be done with the speech. Mwah. Okay, there's a car going anyway, like I wouldn't be talking anyway. Let me just reply to my friend's text and then, stop judging me. Okay, -5 max points if you have been judging me this entire time. And +10 points if you did not judge me at all. +20 points if you thought it was cute.